Hello, everyone. Welcome to Houston Indie Podcast Society. This is our June episode. I know we've had 2 June episodes so far, but I guess welcome to the second one. This was the only June episode that is supposed to be the official one, but things happen and things get pushed back. Just as a forewarning, I want to say that I've been having some internet connection issues, so hopefully nothing happens while we're on the stream. If so, I apologize in advance. I am, of course, Jared, and I'm here with Ming and Carrie. How's it going, guys?
Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing?
What's up, everybody? Thanks again for the warm welcome.
Always. But we do have a very special guest with us, Erica Corbett. Erica is on
Hi, Erica.
2 different podcasts, on Raging Nerds and Gaming Trend podcast. But also she works pretty closely with Carrie with Comicpalooza. She is the co-coordinator of the the Comicpalooza podcasting program. So thank you very much, Erica, for joining us tonight.
That's how I know you.
Yeah, that's how you know her.
That's how I remember. It's the Comicpalooza podcast partnership program. It's something that's near and dear to our hearts, and I would love to talk about it too.
Yeah, I mean, Comicpalooza is coming up next month. So
yeah, so close.
We are less than 30 days away right now for a big convention. I'm so excited. I haven't seen a lot of people in 15, 16 months,
Yeah, or longer.
I went to a concert for the first time over the weekend. It was just a blast. I know, Ming, you've been to some shows recently. How has it been?
I have. It's been great. I just finished my 4th show of the year, so this one more on the smaller side. But I've been to shows of all sizes since March, and it feels good. It feels good to be out and having fun again, and I know everybody else is dying to do the same. And if anybody's wondering, it was safe. I think every con has a mask policy right now, and it's really not a big deal.
No.
You've been wearing masks this whole time anyways. You're still a geek with the mask on, so not a big deal.
You can make your mask even a geeky thing.
Yeah. But the thing I've noticed that no one has been afraid to come back, and I think everything's come roaring back. So with that being said, I can't wait to see you guys in 30 days.
If you're not following Ming, he does a lot of shows, but he also goes to a lot of places when he's in different towns. So it's really cool to watch his social media, where he's going, where he's drinking, what he's eating. It's my favorite food blog.
It's very unintentional, but I love to find the gems in every city I'm at, and in every city there are many gems. There's an overwhelming amount of gems in the city of Houston, and I try to find them every year.
We could do a whole episode about that, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Houston is probably one of my favorite places for food.
Yeah.
It's just such a wide variety of things, and just it's all together. Nobody thinks it's weird or different or anything, It's great.
Right. And it's great that everything is separate. It's beautiful in a way where it's you go to different parts of town, like Bel Air, and you have this whole Asian market and everything, and it's very natural and real. And you don't get that in a lot of cities where it's kind of just the toned down versions. And so Houston is very rare to have just all these beautiful, untouched, foods and cultures.
Yep. Agreed.
I mean, going back to the conventions that you've been to, how does it feel in a sense of capacity? Do you think that they were a little bit smaller than they usually are? Do you think that they were back full force, or?
I think they weren't at full capacity from the past, and which is understandable. I think there's going to be a certain amount of people who are like, wait till next year, or they're waiting for a true all clear. But with that being said, it wasn't, it's not like it was half. I would say maybe 85-90%. And I mean, we're pretty, when we miss a convention for a year, it feels like, it feels like the end of the world. So when we're allowed to go back, we're going back. And as much like I feel about Comicpalooza, I think my analogy is kind of like this. Even last year, someone was like, "Hey, would you ever go to the movies again?" I'm like, "Oh no, man, I don't. I was not really, wasn't really safe back then." They're like, "Well, what if they said they're going to release Ghostbusters Afterlife tomorrow?" I was like, "Well, I would go for that then." But I mean, I think most people have been vaccinated. It's not like you're risking your life or anything. You want to be safe and respectful. But I would say that probably the capacities are right around about 85-90%. So it's not like a lot of people have stayed away. I think people are really, really dying to go back, hang out with their friends, and have fun.
So I know a lot of the places like Disney and places like that, they're doing well. I think their mask is pretty much gone now. But if you are not vaccinated, they sort of here you should wear a mask. Is that how the shows where you went to?
Oh yeah. Well, I think most of them they're all requiring masks. Just it's hard you can't police who's been vaccinated or who hasn't.
Yeah.
So for for ease, really, it's like just wear your mask. So for if I'm taking a photo with someone, it's like, hey, are you comfortable? We'll pull them down for the photo, temporarily. But it's really has not been a huge issue that I've seen.
All right. Well, Carrie, Erica, what about Comicpalooza? What do you think the capacity is going to be for that?
That's a good question. I don't know any of those details. I'm just looking forward to getting together with all my geek friends,
Right. And definitely Comicpalooza is looking at all the cons that are going on. They are going to make the guests and everyone that comes feel as best as they possibly can and safe as possible.
Have a safe and healthy show.
Yes.
And have fun. Definitely. That's what I'm looking forward to.
We're going to have so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, especially the people who are in the podcast program, because I mean, we all are.
Look at that segue.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're all familiar with each other for the most part. Some of us know others a little bit more than others, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun to actually be able to get together and hang out and watch everybody's shows on the floor, and just go and network and have fun with people who are actually there for just the convention itself instead of just the podcasting. So
yeah, it's a 2-day show this year, so it's a Saturday and Sunday, but we have a full weekend of podcasting going on, starting from the beginning of the day all the way to the end. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's a live Hips episode. Is that correct, Jared?
Well, yes, there is, and that is 5:30 to 6:15 on Saturday, the 17th.
That's right. There's going to be a podcast area on the floor. It's going to be sort of set up like there's going to be a table. We're all sitting. There's chairs. It's like a
pavilion.
Well, it's not as big as that yet, but it will be. It's going to be how it was previously. Everybody's going to be hanging out, doing live shows on the floor. We're going to have some educational stuff. We're going to have some cool game shows going on, which I'm excited for that. Our friend Craig Price has his cast off, and you're going to be part of that. All you guys are involved in that this year. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
I don't know how to play yet, but I'll learn how.
Oh, you'll learn.
Oh, yeah.
Learn on the spot.
I haven't played either, but the way that it was explained to me, I think I'm going to do very well at this. I've already got plans. I already know my competition, and I've already got plans.
Oh, okay. I see how it is, Jared. Okay. Fighting words. Okay.
Isn't your competition Ming, my friend?
Yes. I mean, at least that's, unless something changes.
Nope,
I think what was said.
Ming, I just think I heard him throw down at you.
Yeah, I think you did too. Watch out.
It's going to be interesting.
I'm also starting to get the feeling that this is a podcast convention cleverly disguised as a Comic-Con. I don't know, guys. I'm just saying. If you're watching this or you get wind of this, if you're a podcaster, if you're interested in podcasting, this is the place to be at for sure.
For sure. I love every year when we get those like bright-eyed new people and they're like, I want to get into it. I'm like, come here, let me talk to you. And so, I think that's the best part, getting other people into podcasting. I mean, you can do this for free. Like, there are so many ways to do it where it doesn't even cost you anything. So yes, definitely one of the highlights.
That's right. One of the things I know you guys would agree with me that we really are proponents on this show is, if you have something to say and you have a voice, go out and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let anything stop you from doing it.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, just get started. I think that's the first step that
Right.
needs to be taken is, people tend to procrastinate and just hold off and not do it. And then, one day becomes a week becomes a month becomes a year. And then you're just not doing it. All of the wind has been taken out of your sails, so to speak.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if you're interested, do it. Definitely Comicpalooza, the podcasting area is going to be a great way for people to not just go and be entertained, but also to learn. So
Yeah, we have a
like Harry
couple.
said, some educational stuff.
We have a
will be
great
there.
panel from our friend Ozeal over at Pod Houston about how to get into podcasting and marketing yourself, which is very important. We have some really cool educational stuff, some game shows, and we have it's not enough spaces like it was when it's like a normal 3-day show,
Mhm.
but we're getting as many involved as we can. And all that information will be released very, very soon. It's gonna be a really fun time.
For cutting out a day, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. Usually we have 2 panel rooms and then we have what's going on the floor, but
Yep.
it's still jam-packed of podcast stuff this year.
So true. Thank you for that.
It's going to be really fun, but I'm also just really looking forward to next year and what we can accomplish for the podcast program next year.
Let's get through this year first,
Yeah.
and then we'll
Yeah.
we'll get bigger.
Yeah,
Yes.
of course.
Oh, I have plans, sir. I have ideas.
I know you do, and that's why I'm excited, Carrie.
And I know this from going to a couple of the shows I've gone to. There were 2 days. A couple of the shows I've gone to, there were 3 days. 2 days. It's going to go very quick. So
Yeah.
pack those days.
Mhm.
Need to plan them out, whatever. But there's no shortage of time wasted in those 2 days. So
Yeah, right.
yeah, for sure. So I may not sleep, but I don't sleep anyways. So yeah, I'm going to try to hit as much as I can for sure.
Well, definitely a good way to extend out the weekend. We're actually going to be having a get together at Coral Sword on July 15th. That's going to be the Thursday before Comicpalooza. So it's going
Jared's
to be
the
actually
king of-
our first live in-person meetup.
right.
So really looking forward to that.
You're the king of self-promotional segues tonight.
This is all he does.
I've gotten
He's
okay
amazing.
at it.
Yeah.
The Segway King. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be. I haven't seen a lot of these people in so long, and it's just going to be fun just to hang out with no real agenda, just to talk about podcasting and just hang out with everybody.
Right.
And at Coral Sword, it doesn't get better than that.
I mean, it's a great place for games, for drinks, for some food, and just hanging out. So it's going to be a really good time.
And meeting with podcast with anybody there.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. We'll have gear set up. May fire up the streaming booth. I mean, it's there, so I think we could definitely fire that up. But yeah, it's just such a fun place to hang out. Come ready to get caffeinated. There's beer and wine. Maybe a pizza or 2 floating around. And I mean, it just hit me. I haven't been there in 2 years, which is insane. So
Wow.
yeah, just because I wasn't allowed to. But,
Right. No, exactly.
but yeah, big ups to Sandy Bledsoe for like, hey, meet up. Sure, come on over. And that'll be 7 to 9, correct, on the 15th?
7 to 9 on the 15th.
Fantastic.
Yes. So they have been closing at 9 o'clock. So that's the reason a little bit of a earlier hours for that time.
And if you find us on Facebook, we have an event page for that already created, so you can RSVP, let us know you're coming. You can bring your like with a hot pot or whatever. Bring your own food.
Oh, okay.
Oh, potluck.
Potluck. There you go. There you
go.
A
love
hot
you,
pot.
Carrie.
Hot pot.
See, I thought you were going to say
it could be a
hot
hot
pocket.
Well, you can bring a hot pocket. That's enough for everybody, right?
Yeah, just bring a couple boxes.
I was just thinking one, but okay.
Well, I mean, there's going to be quite a few people there, so you want to make sure you have enough for the crowd.
That's right.
But yeah, Ming, you mentioned the podcast booth. There are some plans already in the works to have that up and going, and we'll actually probably do a stream session while we're there. So
yeah, it's pretty sweet streaming setup there, courtesy of one Mr. Hunter Pence, who was like, hey, let's go big on this. I'm like, okay, let's build out your dream streaming setup, and he pretty much did. So
Yeah, it's great.
yeah, so big ups to him. And I just remember I sent down a bunch of Zoom gear, so we have enough. We have gear there set up for podcasting. So yeah, this is going to be fun. Again, if you're a local Houston podcaster, this is the place to be for sure.
Yeah, most definitely.
So let's talk to our guest about podcasting. Erica, how did you get into podcasting and why? What was that moment of like, I want to do this?
So I've always been told that I have like a voice for radio. And so that always like piqued my interest. And then I had a friend one day that was just like, let's do a podcast. And so I started podcasting with them. And then I met other people through the Houston circuit, and I started podcasting with more podcasters, and slowly but surely just met people, created new shows, ended shows, built more new shows. And so it was just the Houston area is just amazing for meeting people. And the Houston Podcast Alliance is just great. I mean, there were so many meetups. We don't really do many anymore, but because COVID and everything. But yeah, no, it was just great. Just meeting people.
So why don't you talk about your shows for a little bit, kind of introduce people to Raging Nerds and Gaming Trend podcast?
So I haven't done Raging Nerds in like a hot second, just because I've been so busy with Raging Nerds. Gaming Trend podcast. And then I'm doing a side podcast that I'm going to release soon called sorry, I'm like drawing a blank. It's brand new. Oh my gosh. I know, right? Yeah, it'll come to me.
Who's the new one with?
A new podcast. It is with my sister, and so it's just going to be about dysfunctional dailies. That is what it's called, and so it's just going to be about daily lives. We're both moms. We're also going to be drinking wine and other drinks and rating them, and so it's really funny. And it's kind of just like basic, but then also with a twist on it. And so it'll be fun. And there's not a super amount of podcasts or just females. And so it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
You'll put the fun and dysfunctional.
Yes, exactly. I think that's our banner. We put the fun and
there you go.
So yeah, that's definitely too. It's very dysfunctional. But yeah, no, so I've been doing Gaming Trend. Gaming Trend is a website where you can get gaming reviews, watch people do Twitch. It's like a whole site. And then we do the podcast for it. And so, yes, I need to get back to Raging Nerds. It's just there's so many things to do.
And that's the big problem, right? There's so many ideas, so many things flowing that you just don't necessarily have time for all of it. And that is a problem.
You'll be doing a live one at the Comicpalooza show floor. So
yes, we are going to do live ones. So
there's your way back into it.
Yeah. I'll just have to cut out 3 days of my week for editing for 3 different podcasts. So that's going to be fun.
That's the life of a podcaster.
Yeah, it's either life of a podcaster or you can outsource it.
Ugh, and to pay someone? No.
I mean, that way you can get all your ideas and all your shows out and not worry about post.
I know a lot of podcasters that do outsourcing, but I guess I'm just too much of a perfectionist to do that. And I think if I did do that, I would listen to the show and I'll be like, I would edit it differently and it would drive me crazy.
See,
I don't want somebody editing myself. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I'm kind of the same way, but surprisingly, I have actually outsourced some of my editing before and it comes out great.
That's awesome.
So I think it just really depends. You have to really learn who the editor is going to be and kind of learn their style and make sure that it's going to mesh with yours. So it's definitely a selective process.
People have made companies out of that, which is strange.
Most definitely. I mean, I've done a little bit here and there, nothing too much, but I have done some extra editing for other people as well.
Now, you mentioned a second ago there's not a lot of podcasts that are female driven. Why do you think that is, and how can we change that?
I mean, usually when you think about podcasts, you just think about a couple dudes drinking some beers and just like talking about random things. I think it's harder for women, especially older women, just because they have lives to live. There's women that are super focused on their work. And again, as women, it's kind of harder for women to be focused on the career, be better than the other people next to them, more focus on them. And then there's women who have kids, and so it's harder for them in that aspect. And then there's people that have homes, they're homemakers, so, doing all that. So there's many reasons why it's harder for women, but then also, like I've faced, it's just open ridicule, just people that you don't even know commenting like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, A, B, C, D. And I'm like, I wasn't talking about that, but thank you for, trying to mansplain to me. It's a lot of mansplaining. I'm just going to throw it out there. But especially me being in like talking about game stuff, talking about pop culture, nerd stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that will try to tell me I'm wrong, but then reiterate what I just said. And I'm like, you just said what I just said, but thank you for talking back to me about that. It's a lot of smiles and laughs, just so that you don't ruffle feathers. Like if someone's going to be negative, I'm just going to be like, okay, that's great. Thank you. And so it is what it is.
Thank you for your feedback. Move on.
Yes.
I think when we started, especially when we started the studio, we'd have the guys come in, and then they would have their girlfriends or a girl. I'm like, "Are you on the pod?" Like, I like no. A lot of them were like, "No, I'm the producer." I'm like, well, "Why aren't you on the mic? I'm sure you're far more interesting than these guys." And so that was kind of a trend at the beginning. But I would say here at the studio, we've got to be very close to 50-50 as far
That's
as
great.
Either female-led podcasts or mixed or I've always encouraged it. I was like, well, I mean, we all got a voice, so yeah, but it was always weird in the beginning. I was like, oh well, I'm the producer. I'm like, well, why don't you get on mic? And they're like, oh no, and like just get on there. I assure you're gonna be awesome. I definitely see the trends switching.
Yes.
For sure. I mean, it's not even, without a doubt, and it makes me happy for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, one of the big things is representation, right? If there's the representation, then it gets more people interested and lets them know that there's a voice for them. So, the more we can get that, the better. Obviously.
You mentioned gaming trend. I know you mentioned the website and they do reviews and all that. But tell me a little bit more about what the podcast is about. What do you talk about? You do reviews on there too?
Yeah, we've done some reviews. Most of our reviews are like paper, so we're just going to write it on the website. But we do like brief synopsises. I'll just say, hey, I did this review, go read it. But we just talk pop culture, nerd culture, anime, love the animes. I mean, everything and anything. Sometimes we're just like, let's talk about traveling because we traveled, and we'll talk about traveling while gaming. And so, I mean, there's a lot of freedom, like with pop culture and then nerd culture. I mean, you can talk about anything.
Right. And that was your last episode, right? The traveling for gamers.
Yes. And we talked about a bunch of different countries and cities where you can go for gaming, like top epicenters. Like it was great. It was really informative.
Yeah. Some on there that I wouldn't even expect, in all honesty.
Yeah. No, there's stuff I've never even heard of. Yeah.
Like what? Give us a little hint.
Oh my gosh. So there's like places in Germany. There was like Switzerland, which is like one of the top places in the world for internet, which I wouldn't think of. I would be like, America has the best internet. No, we do not. There was a couple places in California, of course, but it's so expensive there. But yeah, no, it was just a bunch of places, just like you would never think of.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think Seattle was one of them. Japan, obviously, one of them.
Oh yeah, Japan.
Yes,
yeah. So,
yes. Mecca.
Seoul, Korea was one.
Yes.
So. Yeah, I mean, it very interesting. So, I mean, a broad range of topics that, would be interesting to not just gamers, but, just about everybody.
So, yes.
not only are you a podcaster, but you're married to one now.
Yes, I am married to one. Yes.
And how do two podcasters meet?
We met through Houston podcasters, like the Alliance or whatever it was called. Yeah, we just met through meetups. I was actually like a really big fan. I listened to the podcast because I was friends with someone else on the podcast, and then slowly but surely I was like, wow, like this guy Justin seems really cool. And I think there was an episode where they talked about childhood cartoons, and that was it. I was like, oh my God, like I'm going to be best friends with this guy. This guy sounds amazing. He was talking about Sailor Moon, like all this other stuff. And I was just like, he seems so cool. And so like the first time I met him, actually met him was at Comicpalooza, and I was so nervous to meet him. Aww. I felt like, because it's like, oh my God, this is like, I really liked his podcast. And so I was so nervous, and super cool guy. I mean, I married him, so he was really nice. But yeah, just eventually we just saw more and more of each other, and just things fell into place.
That's how I felt. I was nervous to meet him too the first time.
Yeah. You guys, like, I always think like you guys have been friends for like decades, but it's only been like 5, 6, 7 years, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It was through Comicpalooza podcasting. So
yeah.
There you go. I didn't marry him though. I'll let you do that part.
Well, you were already married. To be fair.
I was already married. That's
true.
I think your wife would have a problem with that.
Maybe.
Maybe.
She's probably watching. She'll make some comment. We'll find out.
Yeah. So she actually has.
She's
not
watching
specifically for this specific topic, but I'm sure she will probably chime in real quick. But yeah, she did say that she thought that your podcast idea, the one with your sister, Erica, sounded fun. So, here she goes. Comment.
There you go.
There you go. By the way, if you're on the stream with us, let us know. Give us a like, give us a thumbs up. Let us know in the comments, and let us know if you're new to the stream or if you've been here before. We'd love to hear from you. So Erica, I guess, what is your favorite part of being a podcaster?
Meeting people, I guess. I meet a lot of people. I've met like the creator of Cubix, or Cubert. I'm sorry, dyslexic. Cubert. Wow. I've met the creator of Joust. I'm like really into retro gaming. I mean, those are like my two main people. I got them to sign some stuff. So I've just met so many people. I've met my husband. I've met friends. I just love podcasting, and I mean, I like hearing my voice, so a little bit of a narcissist, but no, I think it's lots of fun, and I think it's a really healthy hobby. I mean, it's very educational, and you get some good laughs out of it too.
I agree on that one. What would you tell somebody? I mean, we talk about this all the time on the show, but if somebody that is nervous about starting their own show, what kind of advice would you give them?
Just do it. I mean, there's nothing that you're going to lose from doing it. I mean, maybe if you say some weird stuff, maybe, but no, other than that, there's nothing to lose.
Remember, it is out there forever.
It is. Some people do need to remember that. But yeah, you can do this for free. For a while, we were doing it for free. I think SoundCloud lets you upload a certain amount for free, and then we were using like free WordPress. Like this is like back in the day, and so you can do it for absolutely free. And I mean, I love meeting people that are like, "Oh, I love your show," and you're like, "Oh my God, I have fans." And it's just like, even if it's one person, I'm just like, one person listens, and so. It's touching when people are like, "Oh, I love this," or "Oh, what do you think about this?" And you're just like, I'm reaching people.
Yeah, I think the greatest part about podcasting is when you do have fans and they do know you.
Yeah.
And they know more about you than you actually think people know about you. It's a very cool saying. It really is. Because it's how, a lot of people in the world think about celebrities and stuff like that. They follow celebrities and know about them. But podcasters like all of us, we're very open. We're on the mic. When people listen, they get to know your personality. They get to know you without even really meeting you. And I think that's the coolest part about it. you're friends with people that you listen to that you don't even know.
Yes.
Right. I think one of the interesting things is whenever people ask you, "Hey, whenever you come to so and so city,
Let's meet up.
let me know." And some of us are like, "I'm
You're
probably
gonna harvest
not.
my
Yeah,
organs.
I'm probably not going to even make it there to have a show at some big arena or theater or something like that."
That's-
So,
Right.
I told I met Ming. I was like, "Hey, do you want to be part of the podcast program we're doing?" And his first response was, "Hell yes."
Yeah.
And
man,
I was
Ming
like,
is
"Oh, yeah."
so good at that. Anything podcast related, Ming automatically. Oh, podcast, yes.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we don't have any meetups here yet. I mean, I was gonna start some,
Yeah.
and and COVID happened, but which is so jealous of you guys. Where you're granted you're in the fourth largest city in America, but I'm dying. I've always been dying to meet like-minded people. Hence
Right.
going to Comic-Cons or things like that. But even more so with podcasting because I love it so much. And anytime somebody needs a guest or a couple of words or if there's a meetup somewhere or there's a panel, I'll always be there if I can.
Ming, have you been to a podcast convention that's more educational type environment?
I haven't. So I know talked to the guy from Podcast Movement last time, which I was like, man, I'm dying. I gotta see if I can work out the dates, but I'm dying to go to something like that. But if you can't make it to that, I think this is a pretty good version of it in Houston. And you get a Comic-Con thrown in too, but
Right.
which is pretty cool. But I have done panels on podcasting at the conventions I've been to, and it's great seeing just more and more people come out and be interested. Or I was asking in the beginning, like, well, who's got a podcast already? And before, no one had one, and now you'll get some hands up. And it's like, oh man, this is great. This is it's growing, and not only that, they've done it already, but they still have questions or they still want to learn, and it's really awesome.
I think this past year during the whole pandemic, people have really dived into it, and it's become such a pop culture thing now with all these celebrities jumping on board, which I'm great with, because it just brings more notoriety to the actual platform,
Yeah, most definitely.
So what do you listen to, Erica, when you're not listening to yourself on your own podcast? What kind of
Like
shows
what
do you listen to?
podcasts
Yeah.
do I listen to? Oh my gosh. I love like crime stories and then
Oh, yeah.
audio dramas. Like I could listen, like if anyone has any recommendations, I will eat them up. I love audio dramas. Like Black Tapes. I mean,
Black Tapes is amazing.
yeah, Black Tapes is great. They were supposed to come back. They never went, like, what's
Yeah.
going on, y'all?
Black Tapes
Still waiting,
and
still
Tannis
waiting.
was really good as well.
I did not listen to Tannis. I listened to like most of their stuff though, like Fairies that they did, and then they did Rabbits. I think that's what it's called. I listened to that. I love audio dramas. Like that is what I listen to, and then crime dramas too, true crime.
Remember back in the day, audio dramas used to come on cassette tape, so you have to buy them.
Yeah.
You had to flip them over.
You had to flip them. I still have like an old Star Wars radio drama that type. Now it's like podcast.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So there is a guest that we have scheduled that's coming on in a couple months, and she actually does audio dramas. And one of the things that she just released recently is that she's doing the Stranger Things audio drama, and that's going to be
Interesting.
very fun.
That's cool.
That is really cool. Excited for that.
Yeah. So be prepared. We'll release all that information later, but just a little bit of a heads up. We'll have some pretty good guests coming up.
Do you want to talk about the podcast program a little bit more? How
most
Erica
definitely
got involved and how great of a job she does?
Yeah,
Aw,
of course.
I just have a great boss.
Uh-huh.
Who was that?
It's you, Carrie.
Oh, okay.
It's you.
right.
So how has your experience with working with a podcast program for something like Comicpalooza been?
Carrie, do you want to go first?
No. This is all you.
Oh, it's for me.
This is your
It's for
episode.
me.
This is for
Okay. Everything's been great. Comicpalooza is super fun. Everyone there treat like all the staff treat their family. Like all of them hang out outside of work. They're all funny. Every single one of them. They're all sweet. I mean, it's a very interesting like work atmosphere because everyone's just so loving to each other. Doing the podcast program is great. There's still a couple podcasters that don't do all the filing of the paperwork on time and stuff like that. I think that's like the only downside to the job.
Yeah.
But I mean, just everyone is so excited. Everyone's just like, I can't wait for Comicpalooza. I'm already sharing. I've already been talking about it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so it's just, this is one of my favorite conventions to do here.
I think we've made a lot of friends just because of it too.
Yeah.
That's how Jared and I became friends, just because of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you do have a co-coordinator. We can mention Mark Neiser, the Rebel Radio podcast, which I took him under my wing when I want to do a podcast, and I was like, go for it, dude. And he just watched us for the first year, and he learned how to do it, and he went off on his own, like a little baby bird.
And no, his co-host like got me into podcasting too. Like Matt was like the only dude that I knew that did podcasting.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, podcasting sounds super cool. And he's like, yeah, it's easy. Like you could totally do it. And then like it went from there with my friends wanting to do one. And so, yeah, it's crazy how everyone knows each other, but like we never met before. Like I have so many podcasts like, oh, I know your older sister, or oh, we went to the same college or whatever. And you're like, wow, it's weird. Small world.
Now, going back to your being a podcaster, you've done interviews with people before. Who is your dream interview to get on your show? Besides Ming, of course.
A dream interview. I don't know if I have. I'm not that stuck on like famous people or anything like that. I would say if anything, maybe someone from corporate Nintendo. I think I would love anyone from corporate Nintendo. I'd be like, this is the best day of my life. But it wouldn't necessarily have to be like
We should get you Reggie. We should get Reggie Fils-Aimé.
No, but I would love to get like an actual game designer. Like,
Yeah.
I like that. Like, I love dealing with game designers and people who actually make the stuff happen. Not saying that the CEOs don't, but just saying that I like dealing with the other people as well. So, yeah, I would say like someone from Nintendo.
The guys on the front line, basically.
Yes.
And then the QA people even lower than that in the front line. The very front line.
I bet they have stories.
I know, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure they all have stories.
I'd love to talk to someone who worked for the old school Nintendo Power Hotline.
Yes.
Yes.
There, right? There's got to be a ton of those.
Oh my gosh.
Somewhere.
The stories
Yeah.
they could tell.
Yeah.
That was like the dream job back in the 80s, man. It's like, man, I just want to work for Nintendo and tell people how to get through Legend of Zelda. That's all I want to do.
Erica, you talking about that they probably all have a bunch of stories, and that, I mean, that's what podcasting is.
Yeah.
People telling stories.
I could tell you some QA stories when I worked at 2 different companies doing QA. So there's some stories there. I'll tell you what.
I'll tell you what.
I didn't mean to sound like Hank Hill there for a second, but I did.
You did. It was good. I'm glad you went that direction, Carrie.
Wasn't meaning to. We are buying a new grill soon, then maybe that had something to do with it.
Well, I guess the main question has to be charcoal or propane.
We're looking at propane, of course.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice. Clean burn.
Clean burn.
Can you guys give me like a mental picture of what the podcast area, the area is going to look like? I know, you mentioned there's going to be a main area, but I guess there'll be individual podcasters around.
Unfortunately, not this year. We're going back to just having the table and the chairs, like the audit. Yeah, it's going to be blocked off. Next year, it's going to be bigger and better. We'll have more room. We'll have more time to plan stuff and all that. So, yeah. And I don't know. It's just we just don't have the room this year because the most of the show floor, the whole show, usually the whole building. This year it's going to be on the first floor, and part of the first floor is actually there's a Dr. Seuss exhibit going on, which could be fun too. So we have all the cool stuff on the show floor, the panel rooms and celebrities and everything right there.
Right.
So we're going to be a lot closer to each other, that's for sure.
Okay, cool.
We don't have to run up to the third floor and back down, up and down all the time.
Yes.
Right, and look for room 341 AB.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but the numbering system still baffles me. Even though
It's very difficult. If you've ever been to the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yep.
Try to find 341 A, B, D, and E at the same time. What?
yeah.
It gets a little confusing, for sure. I know I had some problems with it.
Gotten lost many times for my own panel, so
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what? Grateful that it's there. Grateful
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
Comicpalooza allows people to have panels there, and have the space to go and create and do some things and network. And yeah, it's as confusing as it can be. It's 10 times more amazing to have that opportunity and the availability.
So one of the things that we ask everybody that comes on the show is, what do you think is the future of podcasting? Where do you think it's going to be in 5 years, 10 years?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll answer. I guess that's.
Oh, yeah, just for you.
I think that it's going to go definitely more video. Like we're going to do more, Zooms and YouTubes and everything. I know that we're already doing that, and Twitch is a thing. But I think it's definitely leaning towards that, where thgoing to have video and audio, and you're gonna be on Twitch and on YouTube, and the prices are going to be cheaper because it's going to be like the new Skype. Like everyone has it already, and so.
I just read the article today about Facebook implementing a Clubhouse style chat rooms and stuff like that. And they're going to be sort of having their own podcast platform so they can be more integrated into your Facebook experience, which will be great to discover new shows.
Yeah.
And it'll be great for shows like us that are already out there to find a better audience,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great news, truthfully.
I mean,
Right.
every media platform is becoming more podcast friendly, like Spotify. Like before, you could only be like a very like high rated podcast to get on Spotify. Spotify takes almost everyone now. There's Amazon Music. I mean, there's a bunch of Pandora. Pandora does it now, where you can get on there. So definitely, almost all music platforms you can have your podcast on.
And so let me ask you this: what do you think about certain shows only being on certain platforms now? So it's sort of turning into like,
yes,
okay, only this show can be on NBC or whatever, because one of my favorite shows, celebrity shows, is Armchair Expert Dax Shepard, and they just announced that he's going exclusively to Spotify, which I have Spotify. I just don't use Spotify to listen to podcasts. I use it specifically for music,
Well, so the reason that they do Spotify is that they get money from it. Even if like I pay for premium Spotify, even if you listen to podcasts, you have to listen to the commercials. And so there's about 2 to 4 each hour episode. So they get money from it. But then there's also that other podcasting thing. It's like Luminary or Lumiere. It's a platform, kind of like
Luminary.
Anchor. Yeah, the Luminary. And you have to pay to do that. And so, if you want to listen to it. So there's definitely reasons why people go on different platforms, and it's usually for money. So,
well, yeah, money's
Right.
of course, but
yes,
if they offer me money, I'd move.
I would too. I'm going to be honest. I'll sell out.
I mean, is it really selling out if that's what you got into podcasting to try to do?
So that you should never get into podcasting with the idea to make money. That's like number one thing that we always tell people.
Yeah.
No, but you do want to get into it to grow, and with growth comes some kind of fame and fortune, I guess.
Yes,
and
I do
monetary opportunities. Yeah,
right.
But yeah, I think a lot of people, they get disheartened because they go into it thinking, well, I'm funny and my friend's funny, so we're just going to do funny stuff and get money. And it's just like, I mean, hopefully that works out. But like the Magic Tavern, those guys did a bunch of podcasts before the Magic Tavern, and they were luckily enough to get with the card game Cards Against Humanity, and that really upped their presence. And so definitely it is the luck. I mean, it's just that one person, the one right person to listen to your show, and then they're like, hey, check them out. Like that's all that it takes. All
right.
So we watched the show The Connors, and I think Darlene, her boyfriend, was at some point in last season. He's like, you know what? I'm quitting my job to become a podcaster. And he bought equipment, and it didn't happen for him. I'm like, all right, see, that's right. He went in it to try to make money.
Yeah.
Didn't build an audience first.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess getting into that, what is your main go-to advice for most people, Erica?
The advice I give people, podcasting with friends can be hard. Podcasting with anyone can be hard. So I would definitely say just be careful with that. I mean, you can ruin friendships, relationships, just because it is like a job. And like they say, you should never work with your friends, never live with your friends. It's kind of like that. You need to know what your boundaries are, what your friends, people, whatever boundaries are. So I would definitely say that if you're going to get into it knowing that this is going to be like a job. And if you can't work well with others, don't podcast with them.
Or if you know that your friends don't work well with others.
Exactly. Yes.
Be friends, don't necessarily be co-hosts together.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. Very interesting. Does anybody else have any other questions or anything that they want to talk to Erica about specifically? We're running pretty close to an hour, which is kind of where we cut off. So, Erica, anything that you would like to say specifically about podcasting in general, or your podcast, or anything that you're doing specifically?
No. Like my podcast, you can pretty much find me anywhere. Like my handle is The Raging Erica, and that's like pretty much for everything. We talk about branding. We talk about everything. Like gaming trend, you can email us, podcast@gamingtrend.com. You can send us ideas, whatever. We're very open. I think people think podcasters like, oh, they're probably never going to see this email or, read this message. But most podcasters are like, no, like I love reaching out and talking to people. So yeah, no, podcasting is really fun and I love doing it. I love finding information that I didn't know, like last week's episode about traveling with, gaming. And so it's just fun to do.
Yeah. And I like how you brought up, people reaching out to you, because I mean, as podcasters, that's what we hope for, I think, for most of us, because we get on the mic and we tell stories. We talk about ourselves and, the world in general. And we don't get a whole lot of feedback unless we have co-hosts. So, I mean, we definitely love hearing from the audience and the people who actually listen to us on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, however many episodes you actually put out.
When we give out our email or our social media handles, we really want you to contact us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interact with us. That's what we're here for.
1000%.
Yeah, most definitely. By the way, go ahead and reach us on social.
King of segue. Look at that.
It's HTX.
How convenient.
Yeah, how convenient. We have banners to show you how to contact us. But yeah, I mean, Carrie, you bring up a very good point. Whenever we give this information, we want you to reach out to us. There are some people who think, oh, well, like Erica was saying, maybe not reach out because, I listen to them. They're probably never going to see it. They're probably never going to respond. But I try to respond to everybody who reaches out to me. And I'm sure everybody on this stream right now actually does that same thing.
I tweet out to pretty much all my favorite audio drama podcasts on Twitter. And I'll just comment and I'll just be like, there's this one called Unwell. And they did a Thanksgiving episode and they were talking about one of the characters, famous mac and cheese. And I was just like, you can't say that and talk about how good it is without giving out a recipe now. And they're just like, oh yeah, we have one. And they had it in their Patreon. And they're like, if you join the Patreon, you can get the recipe that they all talked about on the podcast. And so it's fun. I mean, these are great big podcasts with lots of famous actors that are doing voice acting and they'll tweet back at you. So it's definitely the small guys, the big guys, like anyone who's into podcasting loves talking to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, Erica, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was a really fun time having you on.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
obviously, of course, we're going to see you at Comicpalooza. So
Yes.
if you're on the stream and you're not going to Comicpalooza, I don't know what you're doing. You need to
Yeah,
get to Comicpalooza.
So July 17 and 18 in
Mhm.
Houston at the George R. Brown Convention Center. Hope to see everybody there. And it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good time. It's a Saturday, Sunday. So no better days.
Yes.
Yeah, check out the guest list. I mean, there's somebody there for everybody.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Do you want to go over the guest list real quick before we
If you
head
want
out?
to. I mean, I know it.
Yeah, go ahead.
We got time.
Well, you got some of the cast from The Mandalorian, which is amazing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have two
you
of my
You get two Ming. Yeah, you get two
my
Ming.
two favorite Mings are gonna be there.
Come on.
That's right. Ming Na Wen is going to be there. She's been there before when she was there for Agents of Shield. Giancarlo Esposito is going to be there. Carl Weathers is making a return, which is weird because like I didn't really see the Rocky movies until like the pandemic, so now I'm like I have this newfound respect for him. You know what I mean?
Insane.
Who else? We're gonna have Katie Sackhoff, which she's a big nerd. Everybody's gonna love her. I grew up on Saved by the Bell. So
I think we all did.
yeah, so it was weird because like the year I started high school was the year they started high school on the show, and I grew up with them. And so yeah, Mark Paul Gosselaar and Mario Lopez are going to be there. I'm excited for some of the comic guests. We're going to have Donnie Cates and Ryan Stegman. If you're not reading Donnie Cates' comic work right now, I repeat, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah, he's been very prolific lately. So
yeah, his Marvel stuff, some of that Venom stuff, the Guardians of the Galaxy he did.
It's great.
Cosmic Ghost Rider. Come on, if you haven't read that, who are you guys excited for?
You're gonna have some people from the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
That's correct.
So some really good actors, young actors. So great. Yeah, no, I'm excited for that.
Tati Gabrielle, she's on that show, and she's going to be in the new Uncharted movie with Tom Holland. So
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so get her autograph before
Uber
that movie
famous.
comes out.
Yeah.
So Kim is right on the same page with me. Ron Perlman.
yeah.
Yes.
Be there.
Yes.
Hellboy.
Yes.
have
Everyone's
his
been trying to
autograph,
get him
but
for
I've
a
never met
while.
him. Yeah, I might get a picture with him. That would be worth it.
You have to.
I think I do.
Get the picture.
Yeah.
Get the picture.
I'll start a GoFundMe right now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we don't have a link for that because we weren't prepared. But yeah, go ahead and tweet that out, I guess, later.
So Ming, who are you excited for?
So Mark Paul Gosselaar, I'm a big Saved by the Bell fan, but he is a fairly recent podcaster. He has a podcast called Zach to the Future, where they break down each and every episode of Saved by the Bell. And I mean, I love the recap podcast. Even like four random people who really love the show doing it. But when cast members get involved and can tell you real dirt, that's even
awesome.
better.
I listened to the
Yeah.
Scrubs one they put out. It's great. You get all these behind the scenes stories and everything from the people that were on it. That's cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know he was doing that.
Yeah. So even if I get seconds, like, hey man, I love your podcast. Like that's like but I would love to hear his experiences for sure.
Yeah.
that'd be great. Okay, well, I guess that's going to do it for tonight. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. So you can reach us everywhere at HipsHTX. That's on social media. You can also email us, hipshtx@gmail.com. Make sure you follow the show on YouTube at bit.ly/hipshtxyt. Just follow us by hitting the subscribe button and the bell icon. That'll notify you when we go live.
That's right.
Join us again on July 15th from 7 to 9 at Coral Sword. We're going to play some games, have some drinks, and just kind of hang out. And, if you haven't been to Coral Sword yet, it'll be a great time to actually be able to go and see what it's like and check out the podcast area and all that fun stuff.
And if you're at Comicpalooza on July 17th, the Saturday, July 17th, come check out our live show. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Definitely.
Ming's going to be doing a lot of stuff there too. So
Yeah.
wait,
Yeah.
the schedule should be coming out soon. So it's going to be a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to all of it. That whole weekend from Thursday to Sunday is going to be a great time.
Oh yeah.
So really looking forward to it.
Like Ming said, it's going to be a blur.
Yeah, it will.
It's going to go quick.
Yeah.
Enjoy every moment.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's gonna do it. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.